because of a big security leak.
Yay. Sorry, Windows just got a major upgrade.
An upgrade because of a big security leak, a very dangerous one.
No.
About sharing two machines sharing the same printer or something like that, a print thing that allowed hackers to get in.
Now, where there's a will, there's a way, right? And the way to completely secure your system is with a pair of shears.
You know what a lock is good for? Keep an honest person.
Yeah, there you go. All right, so we got 11 on the line right now. Not bad. Hopefully a few others join us, but excuse me. Well, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the July 7th edition of the Audio Frequency Mixer for the Homebrew group, we'll call it. I see a few of us that were here at the field day event that I hosted, and a few that were not. So that's one of the things that's on our agenda for today. And Peter will be doing a presentation for us on that, which is very kind of him to put together and show off some of the fun and games that happened over that I guess, whatever, 3-day event, 2 nights, 3 days, approximately. So, yeah, I wanted to actually start off with a little bit of reading that I've been doing from Walt Maxwell's book, Reflections. I'm sure some of you are familiar with that. I hinted at it at the last meeting, but it did kind of got my attention. I believe title of the first chapter is "Too Low an SWR Can Kill You." So I wasn't quite sure what he meant by that. I thought, like, does that mean if you spend all your time trying to optimize your antenna by climbing towers and all that, that you might fall off and the drop off the mortal coil or what have you? But no, apparently not. So what I'll do is I found a nice little summary here. I didn't create this myself, but I thought it was a good. The chapter itself gets pretty technical, but this was a summary that I discovered on QSL.net. So it's how important is a low VSWR? It is a generally accepted view amongst the more knowledgeable that a low VSWR is unimportant when considering which antenna to put up. I do not, of course, include resonant antennas such as beams or verticals that are designed to provide a good match to coaxial cable. In Maxwell's book, he states that too low an SWR can kill you, a dramatic statement that doesn't imply what you think it does when the meter drops to 1.1, but refers to how a good antenna can become no more than a dummy load if we pursue the holy grail of a 1-to-1 VSWR reading without considering the implications. You will forgive me, I hope, if I repeat the words of many who have gone before in saying it is very difficult to find a better and more versatile antenna than a reasonable length of doublet fed with open wire feeder all the way back to the transmitter. The difficulty with such an antenna is that we need a magic box to bridge the gap between the end of that open wire feeder and the ubiquitous SO239 socket on the back of almost every transceiver. This is the crux of the problem. We must separate the antenna where the object is to provide an efficient radiator, preferably in some desired direction, from the matching, which is a task of transferring the power from the transmitter to the antenna with as little loss as possible and a correct match for the amplifier. In spite of all the hype that we hear on the amateur bands, there is very little to choose between the various popular designs if height and length are of the same order. For any single wire antenna, the radiation pattern depends on its length and wavelengths and height above ground. The main exception is the V inverted or otherwise because of it having a vertical component to its radiation. Some low angle radiation is gained at the expense of some of the normal horizontal pattern. The same cannot be said of methods of feeding the antenna. I will show that some methods can lose a very large proportion of the transmitter's output and at the same time showing a very low SWR. In fact, there's a general rule, and I like this part, that the more efficient antenna a feeder combination, the more difficult it is to find a good match. Since this is the opposite of what we might intuitively believe, it is worthy of a more detailed explanation. The lowest SWR is obtained with a dummy load. However, a length of corroded, low-quality coax makes an excellent dummy load. This is where a low SWR reading should not be regarded as a sign that all is well, but rather should be treated with suspicion, even when using a resonant antenna, such as a half-wave dipole, where we would expect to see a low reading. Moving the transmit frequency away from the resonant, the reading should rise steeply. If it lingers near the bottom, scale should be suspicious. So anyway, I mean, again, just some of my observations that I made over field day and beyond afterwards is that I find that, you know, pretty much it doesn't matter how high above the ground, you know, what the configuration, if there's a bend in the wire or what angle it's at. I seem to be able to get out reasonably well, and I get good signal reports coming back from people. And, you know, the SWR is one, you know, never 1 to 1, but 1 to 3, 1 to 5, even up to 2. And, you know, I experiment with different things and I find not much of a difference. So that's, you know, I guess my curiosity about looking at Maxwell's book, you know, what's the reason for some of these things? And it's just interesting getting into the, you know, the I guess compartmentalizing some of the aspects of, you know, the whole transmission line, right? The feed line itself, the antenna, and what, you know, what actually makes a difference, and what is you know, what's actually going on when you see the readings that you do. Again, I myself, I find myself fixated on the SWR meter on my radio, and I wonder how much really should I be? And, you know, when I see it sitting at 1 to 1 all the time, is that, like this, you know, blurb says, is that an indication of maybe something is wrong if it's never changing? So anyway, that was just a little kind of what's been on my mind as I'm playing with probably the best set of antennas that I've had in a while. I've got 3 different antennas still set up from field day that I've never had quite that selection to choose from, and I know that's small potatoes probably for some, but anyway, it's just nice being able to experiment a little bit and see what happens when I try different things. So anyway, unless anyone else has things for the agenda that are last minute, both myself and Hassan are going to do a brief discussion of our findings from playing with the reverse beacon network. Dave actually got me onto that. You know, on Saturday night of field day, asked if I had a key or and a key, I guess, hanging around, and lo and behold, I did. And so, you know, got a little bit familiar with that. I'd never, you know, logged an entry on the RBN before, and now I've got pages of them as I keep experimenting and playing with things. So kind of interesting. So yeah, Hassan and I will just talk about that. He, again, had a few firsts on field day and is going to talk as well a little bit. So that's kind of free form. We're just ad-libbing. We really don't have anything prepared, but hey, this is the informal meeting after all. So anyway, unless anyone has anything else, that's pretty much the agenda, other than going around the table, so to speak, around the gypsy bush, I guess. So seeing what you're up to. I see some chats coming in, so I don't know if those are chickens too. Nice. Okay, all right. One of the chickens already actually pulled out my my study book, and you know, I thought they were just using it for nesting box, but no, they're actually steadying up too. So I got competition. Anyway, so I don't know if Peter, you're ready to go with your bit. That's fine.
Yeah.
Why don't we start off with that? And
okay. Can everybody see that?
yeah, looks good to
Sure.
me.
Yep, looks good.
You know, when I first showed up at Eric's place, I opened up the door, and I was greeted. First came the first dog, And then after that, a whole slew of chickens. So
And they were all wearing stockings, weren't they?
Yes. Okay, so Field Day 21 by the Homebrew Edition. Well, almost, I say almost homebrew because we weren't using homebrew rigs. Although I did put my KX3 together, but I suppose there'd be a good argument to be made that how homebrew is a KX3. So but anyway, we did assemble that, but we're not going to count it.
And remember, I did have the No Simpler 40 on there, the 4-state one. So.
Okay, so I forgot. So there we go, almost. Same thing with the second almost annual Rat Hole Convention, because after we had the first one, COVID hit, and well, there you go. And then we just paid attention to all who showed up for our field day. Okay, so here's Dave setting up during a break in the rain. Our first day out there, Friday, was quite wet. The weather radar got a real good workout and actually was pretty good at letting us know when we should run for cover or get back out and put up some antennas. In that regard, everything worked well. I had a good rain gear, which helped, but it didn't help my feet though. Here, just off to the left is, I think there's Eric right there, and that's where he set up his operating position. And we put a tarp up to block mainly the wind, but also we kept our firewood somewhat dry. And if the rain decided to come on the angle, well, we were protected for that. And it ran off and filled up the pool. Okay, here's an overview, one of the overviews of where we were. This is actually a shot of where Hassan was going to be setting up. There's his tent there. So these pictures may not necessarily be in chronological order, but whatever. Anyway, so this is the horse barn, is it, Derek?
Yeah, run in.
Attic or whatever.
Yep.
But, and you can kind of see this would be my antenna coming across here. And I don't know if that'd be the support for where the ballon is right here, and then carries on here. Can't really make out the rest of them. Hassan has also a dipole strung up between these two trees here. And there's just a little bit of a closer look at this spot. Just the tent is not up yet. And here's Hassan's operating position, well equipped with food. I might make an argument that the refreshments aren't so hot, but anyway. And this was a real pleasant surprise. Was breakfast. This was actually Saturday morning, and we had hour-old eggs for breakfast. That was thank you, Sandy. It was really, really good and welcomed.
Can you roll back? Yeah, right there. That's Hassan's first QSO.
Yeah, so we're just going to play a little bit here.
Hotel Sierra Echo.
Echo Victor X-ray. 6 Delta, Mike Delta Charlie.
Victor Echo 3, Hotel Sierra Echo.
Kilo 9, Hotel. Victor Echo 3.
Victor Echo 3, Hotel Sierra Echo.
Hotel Sierra Echo. Delta, Mike Delta Charlie.
2 Bravo, Golf Tango Alpha.
Okay, what's the class?
2 Bravo.
2 Bravo, Golf Tango Alpha, got it. Thanks, Whiskey X-ray, 3 Bravo.
Look at that smile. That says it all.
That was the first time I ever made a call on the radio.
Yeah. Yeah, the smile says it all, Hassan. Okay, here's another view. Thanks to Dave's drone. Dave was flying it all over the place. So got some really good shots from it. You can see the one end of right here is Eric's 80-meter inverted V. Again, there's Hassan's, and there's the rope and leading up to, I think around here somewhere is where my dipole started, or my OCF. There's an end fed that's kind of going, can't really see it, but there's an end fed running up here, and the other leg of the 80-meter inverted V is running down like this. And yes, it caused problems. You'd think with 100 acres we could spread out, but apparently we didn't do that. Another angle of things. There's actually where Kevin's set up over here. And well, that's somebody's got a squeaky chair. And,
Sorry.
What else I was going to say? You made me forget what I was going to say now. And there you can see, it looks like Ken there, and that might be me. I'm not sure. Anyway, there's Dave. Did I go too far? I dropped my my mouse. Nope. Okay. So here's Kevin laying out. There's his shack, and there you can see his antenna set up here with the 6 meter Moxon. Here's Dave's original bedroom, the chicken coop. Just another angle, the 6 meter Moxon, the 2 meter Yagi, and then the 440 Yagi. And then, of course, we had to all gather around and have a discussion about what he was doing right. And here's a nice angle, but another look at his antenna, and you can see his rotator right here, twin rotator. And yeah, Kevin was quite set up quite well. I'm not sure if I borrow my wife's. I did borrow my wife's car that weekend. I think if I strung all the coaxial cables all over it like that, I would be spoken to when I got home, if she saw the picture, that is. And there he is, nice and comfy. Were you comfy after a couple hours of operating like that, Kevin?
Not that much, no, because you're kind of twisting around, right? But it was not bad. I mean, yeah. It's better than being in a leaky tent or something like that.
Okay. Okay. Here's another look at that's the short leg. And then there's the long leg going, and then the tie off. No, that's not the end fed. This is the one leg of the 80 meter inverted V, which is actually where you're seeing it here. And you can kind of see again that where I'm tying down the other end of my OCF, and then draped along here.
Can I interject here for a sec, Peter?
Oh, of course.
Yeah. Okay. A funny story here. I think Dave knows this one, but unfortunately the message has been deleted. But okay, it's not. I don't know if this is the best picture. Do you have another picture of the 80 meter, like in its entirety, on the presentation?
I think so. I'm just not sure.
Yeah. Maybe I'll wait. Maybe I'll wait to see if there's another one. Okay. So you can keep going.
There you go.
Perfect then. Okay. Well, this is it. All right. So everybody sees that, right? So I think it's Monday, maybe. No. This would have been probably later. No, this is I think this past weekend. So I'm out there, whatever, doing something outside, and I see the farmer out there either turning the hay over or baling it. I can't remember what he was doing, but Sandy gets a message on her phone later that day. And I didn't really see him other than to wave at him as he drove in. But there's a message that Sandy plays to me. She said, "Oh, there's a message from Fred, the farmer." I wish I could have saved it and played it for you guys. It was hilarious. It says, "Hey, Sandy, this is Fred. Those straps you got holding up the side of the barn there, they're probably not going to hold very long. Like if that barn wall is starting to fall down, you're going to need to do something a little bit more than what you got there. So anyway, I just thought I'd let you know. Bye." And not a hint of, joking. Sandy maintains that he was just cracking a joke, but I talked to his son-in-law and he said, no, that's probably just straight up Fred. So there you go. I thought that was a fitting compliment to our field day efforts in stringing up the thing 35 feet up in the air at the peak. So.
Oh, that's interesting. It reminds me, Eric, because actually shortly after we moved in here, I put up I have a 40 meter dipole with fed with a ladder line, and I decided I was going to do a little bit of operating sitting out in the backyard. So that's what I put up. So I left it up there and ended up doing something else. And Pam comes home, and the first thing she says when she sees it, she says, "Why?" This will tell you why we have so many squirrels in our backyard. She says, "Why would you put a ladder up into the trees for the squirrels?" And I thought, ha ha ha, funny, funny. But then a couple hours later, the neighbor comes home from work and he's wandering around the backyard and he hollers over at me and says, "Peter, why have you got a ladder up into the trees for the squirrels?" And I thought, oh my God. Anyway.
Yep.
Okay. Well, speaking of doing things with antennas, you want to take a guess? Is Dave flying a kite here, getting ready to fly a kite, or is he putting up an antenna? Okay, we did 2 operating positions. Because of all the interference that was going to be happening with the way our antennas were situated, we pretty much had to operate one at a time. And so here's where I set up. And Eric is back in here. And then, of course, Hassan is way over on to the left, and Kevin over to the right. Guess who made a contact? Eric had more equipment out. I mean, we could have supplied equipment for about another 10 people. I've never seen so many handhelds in my life. Well, it's not shown here, but the table over to the right was full of chargers and handhelds and all kinds of stuff. Did you ever use any of them, Eric?
No, I just got them charged up. You know, they hadn't been charged in a while, so no, too busy playing on the HF bands for too much. You know, there wasn't much going on, actually. I was hopeful to get some VHF contacts that day. I made one, so hey, that was about it, but not really a whole lot.
What was it, to Kevin across on the other side?
Yeah, really. I checked the rules, doesn't count.
Okay. What do you say about the rain? I'll give you guys a couple of minutes. Well, maybe I'll give you guys a minute or a few seconds or whatever just to answer this question. What do you say about the rain? And take a close look at Eric. Shout out the answer when you got it. Come on, you CW guys.
I mean, it is a little fuzzy on my screen here, but you should be able to make it out.
Anybody getting close?
Yeah, it's too fuzzy.
Really?
You need a nice big monitor. It's there, you can see it, but
the first letter going across, what is it? 3 dots. Then 4 dots.
SH.
Right.
First one's easy.
Okay.
Shout it out.
Go
Don't
ahead.
be shy.
Well, we got a shit there, no doubt about it.
Okay, now go down, go to the vertical one. Start with the H.
Happens.
What?
There we go.
Hey.
There was so much rain on Friday. And that was Eric's answer to it.
Fair enough.
That was the drone taking that picture, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. You came marching out it looked like you were going to attack the drone. Okay. Whenever we get together, usually something happens, some technical conversation or some disagreement over some aspect of the hobby, and away we go. And here you can see Dave articulating his point of view, and you can see Hassan and I are going to the internet to see if we can find something to put up a good argument for it. Here's my operating position, but this was just shortly after our discussion. So if anybody knows the answer to 2 pi FC divided by RG 58, hypotenuse, blah, blah, squared, blah. Anyway, you get the idea. And let's see what happens here.
Papa Oscar Alpha. Papa Oscar Alpha. Victor Echo 3, Papa Oscar Alpha. QSO.
Okay, Victor Echo 3, Oscar Delta, Roger 3, Delta. We are 2 Alpha Delaware. Say again your section. Over.
You got my call wrong. My call is Victor Echo 3, Papa Oscar Alpha. Victor Echo 3, Papa Oscar Alpha. I have a 2 Bravo GTA. 2 Bravo GTA. QSL.
I got the Bravo in your section. Say again your section. Over.
GTA. Golf Tango Alpha, QSL.
That's got to stop a lot of people.
Golf Tango Alpha, Golf Tango Alpha, QSL.
Tango Alpha. Roger. Thank you. It's 7-3.
7-3.
Well, yeah, I didn't like it when they changed it from just ON to Golf Tangos and Southern Ontario, all that crap. But anyway, it is what it is. And I guess I should have taken the manual away, because apparently I do read the manual on occasion. Usually when I set up the radio to do something. Whoop, okay. So here's just a little bit of a hodgepodge of pictures of the day. Eric's position. Oh, if you notice in the previous picture, there was some real beverages there, and there's Eric's homebrew. Not a bad homebrew, Eric, by the way. I forgot to mention that to you.
Thank you.
I'm drying out my socks. So, and here's a couple of our visitors that we came across. Here we there. I don't know if that was Kevin measuring up to see if he could fit in there with Hassan, and Ken, Hassan, and Dave playing with the dog over here, and Kevin had a good time not being in the mix of this nonsense over here. Okay, what else did we do? Well, I just got to pondering, looking over here while these guys were doing their thing, setting up Hassan there, and then here's what I was looking at: the two horses and the donkey.
3-on-1. 3-on-1.
Three, yeah. And then the great debrief. We had a super bonfire Saturday night. Just sitting around and having a couple of beers and chatting away, and we did have a little bit of entertainment. If you just take notice right here, Popeye in there, and I guess he was sucking back on it too hard and burned a hole through it. But anyway.
Douglas MacArthur.
Yeah, I was trying to think what he reminded me of. But with that beard there, maybe Abraham Lincoln too. And a couple of visitors to see what we were up to. And I'm just going to play some stuff. This is a bit long, but I'll just start to play. It'll give you another flavor of what our site was like. This is courtesy of Dave and his drone. I'll just fast forward through a couple of spots, and well, here we go.
And I don't fly like that.
Well,
it's just
you were the one that was at the control, so you were flying like that.
that video is just jerky. I didn't fly like that.
It has nothing to do with my bandwidth. That's exactly how you flew it. I didn't include it in here, but the video, and you wouldn't believe the rocking around that was going on.
You had about 7 or 8 Michelobes by that point, right? It was about 8 in the morning.
He would have had about 7 or 8 cases of that stuff that he was drinking in order to. I just think. Oh yeah. Yeah, throw a rock. Yeah. And you can start getting a little bit of a view of the area. See, next year I think I'll put Dave way over there.
Oh, you got a sophisticated drone.
It's trying to make me seasick here.
It's like one of my landings.
There's Kevin's spot over here. See, that somebody else can set up over. See, there's the little shack over there, right, Eric? Somebody can set up over there.
Yeah, I'm not sure what that was we were looking at. Let's see it again. I went to the next pass.
Somebody can set up there. There's another shack.
Looks like for a 160 loop.
Oh, plenty. I mean, that's a nice tall tree there in the field that could certainly do with a wire.
Yep. Oh, there's the horses. Yeah, see there, that's what I'm saying. Somebody could set up over there.
Yeah. Okay, that's another run in. Yeah, you're right.
Oh, there's your inverted V.
Yep.
Yeah, go ahead, Dave, and blame that little dipsy doodle on the wind. See that house? That's where I want to set up my shack next year.
Castle.
What a
The eyesore.
you live in an interesting area, Eric.
1,200 square feet, 3-story walk-in elevator-equipped closet for her.
You mean 12,000 square feet?
Oh yeah, 12,000.
That's all? I thought the house was bigger than that.
That's the basement.
Yeah.
Oh,
Geez, it looks bigger than.
there's Dave's bedroom, 1,200 square feet right there.
That's that's my operating position.
Yeah, well, absolutely, because next year we're loading up the electric fence that goes around the coop.
Well, that's where I read that article. I think it was on GQRP site there, where the guy, that's what he did. He loaded up an electric fence that wasn't activated.
I can call chicken Q.
And we are about 350 meters above sea level here, so we got some good elevation to also add to the good operating.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I'll try and duck under this leg of this antenna and see what happens.
Didn't I fly into Hassan's rope?
I believe so.
I think I did. I think I flew into Hassan's rope.
Oh, you flew into it. Oh, yeah. I don't. Yeah, maybe I can't remember if I saw it on the clip there, but it rings a bell.
I didn't see that.
Well, he didn't want to tell you because he ripped the insulation.
That's why you couldn't make that call.
That's right.
Trust me, Ken. Just stand there, and I'll come right up to you for close in.
Yeah.
I actually asked Ken. I did say, Ken, how much do you trust me? I think I did ask him that.
And I said none.
That drone could have set up the antennas in 30 seconds anywhere on this farm. Like,
Yeah.
gotta try that next year.
Fly an antenna off that belfry.
Yes, or just loop a thin cable and then just pull. Actually, it can drop a pulley on top of the ridge line.
Yep.
And then just drag the cable across.
It would have been good, Peter, if you could show Eric's NFED with all those things dangling down. Remember us trying to tune it?
Well, I remember us trying to cross over it and under it.
We spent hours trying to tune that bloody thing. And then Kevin comes over and said, oh, the rig expert, just do this. Boom, we got it working.
Someone has a loud clock. Oh, that's me. Here.
All right. So I guess that is the end of the presentation, right, Peter?
Yeah, I hit the wrong button, but there was only a couple minutes left of the video anyways.
Right.
Okay. So there we go. So we had a lot of fun. I had a lot more fun once my feet dried out by Saturday morning. But other than that, no, that was a good time. Thank you, Eric, for hosting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, thank you. That was great.
Yeah, it was an excellent event, I think. Fun and good times were had by all. And, you didn't have to hide your libations either. So that was another bonus of not being in Flower City Park or whatever it's called. So
I wouldn't call it libations. That was in Hassan's tent. But then again, that's another story.
Yeah, true enough.
Hey, Hassan, did you ever find your score sheet?
Yeah, I did actually. It was on the back of another piece of things. So, but I logged everything then.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Okay, so thanks again for that presentation, putting the work. Obviously, you put a little bit of time into getting that together. So, especially some of the pictures that you got just last minute. So,
Well, you gave me a heart attack because last night I thought I had it all done. I worked on it for a few days and got it done, and then I sent out an email to Eric and Kevin and Hassan, I guess, and Ken, and I just said, "Okay, it's all ready to go. See you tomorrow." And then all of a sudden, all these links came in for all these pictures, and I thought, oh, "Really, guys?" You know? And it was all late, like midnight. So here I am. Okay, and we're going to present in a few hours. Okay.
that's ridiculous that you didn't send out a request a week ago. So, utterly ridiculous.
I sent the request the same day I left on Saturday. Anyway, we won't air our dirty laundry here.
All right. Okay, so anyway, unless anyone has any questions about the goings on there, I think everybody who wasn't there got a good overview, and everyone who's there had some regurgitated memories. So thank you. Hassan, are you ready to talk up the Reverse Beacon Network?
Yes, I can do that.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Do you want me to? Do you want to talk about our experiences? I have a little background on the Reverse Beacon Network that I've dug up. So.
Sure, you can go first then.
Okay, yeah. Well, basically, again, I told you that that was really my first encounter with it, so I'm curious about the back end of it. That's, I guess, part of why I'm here. I'd like to find out how things work. So it is 13 years old now, the Reverse Beacon Network. Genesis was in 2008 with a program that I think most of you will have heard of called CW Skimmer. Was used and then mated with, I guess, the Telnet servers that the skimmers, yeah, I guess they're still called skimmers, would upload their data to. And, as databases got more robust and processing power and FPGAs and all that, I didn't actually find much of a history beyond about maybe 6-7 years ago or so. That seems to be where the history part of it ended, maybe because there really hasn't been a lot more development in the actual back end of it since then, other than more horsepower and all that. But yeah, interesting. 160 skimmers online at the moment. I just had a look. And again, that hasn't really changed much. Looking at the historical documents, they said there's never less than about 100 and usually 150, something like that. So I'd just be curious a little bit more into what goes into the back end of that, as far as processing power and receivers. How much what do you need to capture, I guess, the widest bandwidth, and how many antennas do you have to have up? I guess everybody doesn't have to operate. Every skimmer doesn't have to operate on every band, of course. It is somewhat distributed, but yeah, fairly interesting system. All I've been doing is the CW contacts, and I've just been manual. I haven't even been using a computer to do it. I'm just doing it all by hand with paddles, basically sending out the magic words, and I'm pretty reliably getting hits every time I go out, pretty much on every band, unless it's totally shut down. I discovered a interesting website that I didn't have bookmarked before called, I think, DX Heat, which does provide a kind of an interesting guide to what you're going to have luck on. Not perfect, but at least it gives you some idea of what bands are open, and a little bit of a qualitative impression of that. So easily getting out to Europe, Ukraine, Iceland. Of course, most of the spotters are in the United States, and especially if you overlay, which is kind of nice. Until Hassan sent an email around with the mapping feature of it, I didn't even realize that was part of it. So you get a really nice graphical overview, and then I've been putting it into a spreadsheet for maybe some further analysis later on, making note of which radio, how much power, what kind of antenna I'm using, and building up a little bit of a history, and at the current operating position. So, Dave.
Yeah, Eric, does that graphing work for, is it only one band or will it do all bands?
You're talking about the mapping?
Yeah, the mapping.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
If you go and you work, you do a couple contacts and 20, 80, and 40, is it going to show, can it show all those contacts?
Yeah, you can choose. You filter out what you want. It's very granular in that regard. So, yeah, all the bands are available. So
That'd be cool. I didn't know that existed.
yeah. Yeah. So yeah, quite interesting. I'm not sure again how many I've got. Probably about I don't know, upwards of 100 spots that I've been located at. And again, I'm still coming to terms a little bit with the signal to noise ratios, the numbers that I'm getting, seeing what makes a difference as far as the time of day and all of that. But I seem to be coming in pretty well and very consistent as well. Again, considering, well, I guess I am using a keyer, so that's probably why my keying speed is consistent. I suppose that's nothing to brag about, but anyway, it's also very good practice for my CW, I find, as well. So even though I'm just repeating the same three words over and over again, but hey, you know what? It's a start. So Hassan, did you want to jump in with some of your experiences?
Okay, so I started using it as well. I guess at your farm was the first time I had any confidence that the radio could transmit, because I had no one had ever received anything from me before. So when I was playing around on afterwards, so I tried out the reverse beacons, and it was amazing. I mean, I could tell. I found people in like New York State and Michigan and stuff who actually picked up my signal. And if you look at the link that I sent in the chat, just type in my call sign, VE3HSC, into the DE field, not the DX, DE. And then you'll see all the places who picked me up, and you can filter it by time and stuff. So the field actually, wait, no, I got it wrong. Put me in the DX field, VE3HSC. And so, yeah, so it shows, I broadcasted full power. I don't have a keyer yet. It's being ordered, and I can't type it in. So my radio has a feature where I can just pre-program the message, and it's broadcasted continuously with a touch of the button. So I used that, and it worked amazingly. And today I was trying it out, and I did a few things. I changed the power levels, and I can see the signal to noise ratio drops. I tuned my antenna. I see it goes up. And, I was getting people picking me up in Europe as well as, I think, all the way down to Arizona. And so, yeah, it's I mean, if there's a large enough network of reverse beacons, like if people in the city set them up, we could actually just test our antennas out and test our transmitters just locally with very little power. All it takes to set one up is an RTL SDR dongle, which is like that $20 thing, and it will receive one band and scan all the CW signals on there at the same time. It just simultaneously brute forces its way through them. And then you just need a computer with an internet connection, like a spare computer will do the trick. So the mapping software works really well. Yeah, it's amazing. And it was actually written by somebody in Toronto, actually. The guy who wrote CW Reverse Beacon, the thing. I forgot his name, but he lives in Richmond Hill.
Yeah, it's Alex, VE3NEA.
Yeah. He works in some kind of an IT company doing like HR software. That's his day job, but he did this on the side and got some technical excellence awards and all that. And it's amazing. You should probably interview him or ask him to talk to us someday.
That actually is not a bad idea.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I wonder, like, the thing seems to have stagnated because the user interfaces haven't been updated in a while, and CW Skimmer is good, but there's been a whole revolution in neural networks. So you could build a next generation tool without any programming, just training sequences, feed in some audio data, and then tell it what the answer should be. So like handwriting recognition is like the classic test problem for neural networks. CW decoding is like literally one of the simplest things you could possibly do with a neural network. So we could easily do that, build the next generation thing, and have it, maybe it'll work even better.
Oh, so Hassan, what are your chops like with ML? Are you experienced in that?
Yes and no. I signed up for a course at work on this thing called TinyML, but then I dropped it because I figured I could learn it on my own better, and I didn't have time to commit to all the classes. So I can pick it up when I have a bit of time, maybe in a few weeks. But I could take a look at this.
Might be interesting because I mean CW Skimmer is available, right? That's just out there for the downloading, right? So combine that with because ML is I know nothing about it, but my impression from what I just read about it is that the implementation is getting friendlier and friendlier as time goes on, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. Like it used to require a PhD to do machine learning. Now it requires some scripting skills. Basically, what you would need to do is set up 2 folders in your hard drive. One with a list of data files with audio in them that have like your CW codes, like 1 letter at a time. And the other, that's the training input. And then you set up another file with the output, which is just the letter you expect it to be. And then you run it through a script and say, I want a machine learning model with blah, 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 this type of neural network and whatever, and this many coefficients. It's all just configurable. And then you just wait 12 hours, 20 hours, however long it takes to train it, and out will come a network, which when you feed it the audio, it will, output the digit. You don't have to do any of the hard work anymore. It's all there in scripted libraries. You just have to use them.
Right, kind of like Arduino, right? You're just pulling libraries and copying script. So I guess sounds like the next step might be just again getting familiar with the skimmer program and seeing what kind of back end is necessary. I mean, I think you mentioned, right? All you need is an SDR, basically, right? That has decent bandwidth, and I mean for CW, it doesn't probably require that much horsepower anyway, right? So.
Yeah, it needs an audio connection of some kind, and that's a bit of a pain to set up, but it shouldn't be too difficult. Although, technically you could make a standalone device that just listens with a microphone and just outputs CW like on a tiny screen. Like that might even be possible with a Raspberry Pi and a microphone.
Hey, Dave, you have your hand up.
Yeah, I just wanted Hassan mentioned about using it to check antennas. I just want to show you guys something here. I don't know if you guys remember my antenna presentation. Can you guys see this okay?
Yep.
So here are all my contacts in reverse beacon on different frequencies. This is why I asked Eric whether you could do different bands. So I put all my contacts here. I put the azimuth and distance, use some polar math to get X and Y, and then I plotted it where I'm in the center, and you could see all my contacts. So this gives you a kind of a look at the directionality of the antenna. So you could see the antenna seems to favor east-west and not very much in the north. Now, it could be that there's no skimmers in the north, right? But yeah, so yes, Hassan, you could do that. And that was the whole point of me using reverse beacon with my long wire antenna, was to check how well it's working.
Well, that's cool. The radiation pattern, like that's the directivity of the antenna. It'd be nice to overlay that on Google Maps, so you can actually, like, I had to check the orientation of my antenna, and rather than use a compass, I just used Google Maps or Google Earth and said, okay, I know it's in this corner of the lot to this point on the house. And so if you could overlay the antenna pattern on a map, you'd know which zones you can receive from.
So to Dave's point here, this is the map overlay of the contacts I've made. The dark purple is 20. The obviously these yellow ones are 40, and then I actually have a smattering of 80, not even a smattering, I think like 1 or 2 contacts on 80 here, but all the red dots are the spotters, and as you can see, they're basically just distributed east and west of where I am. So, it would be nice to have a little bit more homogeneous distribution of them, so then you could actually get some sort of sense of, your directionality. However, all that being said, obviously where the spotters are distributed is where the operators are, right? So does it really matter, right? Like you just need to know what direction you're getting at. And obviously, this, I'm sure, overlays very well with where, most amateur radio operators are at the moment. But anyway, so yeah, very interesting. And obviously you can see there's 3 other modes there, digital modes that can be, PSK 31 and 63, and RIDI that can be used with the network. So anyway, and then all the spotters here listed. And actually kind of the neat thing, if you, I don't know how interesting this is, but if you pull it into Google Sheets, then you actually, when you hover over the different colors, you can get a little bit more detail on where they are. And, it seems to tie into both, I guess, DX something, DX heat maybe, and then a link into QRZ. So if you're curious as to where you got or what kind of receiving antennas your spotter has, you can get more information that way. So there you go. Somebody had their hand up, I think. Peter.
Yeah, why don't we put a field strength meter attached to a Wi-Fi, Arduino, GPS, and all that stuff on Dave's drone. Then we can get the left, right, upside down patterns, and there we go.
So you're suggesting a kind of a remote control range?
Well, if you had a field strength meter or device on the drone, and then you have the GPS on there as well, you can now record. You can record your locations and the field strengths at all those various locations, including altitude.
Is there a way to measure field strength using an Arduino?
Well, use the Arduino to capture the data. That you'd have to build a field strength meter in front of it. The 8307 chip comes to mind.
So it sounds as though you have a useful way to map any transmission.
Yep.
Well, I'm just theorizing here, but you know what somebody needs to come up with is RF goggles. So you just put them on, and then, whatever it's sensitive to, you can just put those on, and you're looking at the lobes, basically, overlaid, like assisted reality or whatever it's called, augmented reality.
Operated in places with RF hands where, ground isn't exactly very good, so it's not hard to find out where the RF is.
You'd have to make some accommodations for polarization. So polarization is going to change in 3 dimensions.
You could flip back and forth between a vertical and a horizontal on the drone. Average it.
Or you could do what I did with to test my long wire, is you use a
Look out, Eric, he's coming after you. Oh.
You have to use something like this. I don't know if it's going to show up. I got to get rid of this background.
Yeah, I agree. Different reasons.
Is it 220 volts?
Yeah. You like that, huh? See, use something like that. Now, what I was going to say is that, Peter, it's a brilliant idea doing that. The problem is the antenna you use, you have to apply something called an antenna factor, or it's some kind of factor to it. And I talked about that in my presentation, where it's like the cross-sectional area you see. If it's too small, you're only capturing a small amount of RF energy, and you have to correct that to say that actually when I detect this much, it means I'm actually detecting this much. So
wouldn't that be a calibration anyways?
no, you have to go through a whole, okay, but how do you make that absolute measurement? How do you go at spot X and say it's 3.5, and then I am seeing 2.5, so therefore I have to correct it to make it 3.5. So how do you make that absolute measurement?
Well, you'd have to conduct a calibration with a known source.
Right, or there is a, in my presentation I talk about there's a model you can use. You could also use EasyNEC. You could use a NEC program to actually calculate out the antenna factor for you, but it's not completely accurate. But you're still going to need something to make that absolute measurement. It's a really, really good idea. I think it's brilliant to go and do it, but there's a lot more science involved.
Well, sure. And this is what I like about this group. We have the idea guys, the theoretical guys, the hardware guys, the software guys, and somehow out of all of those guys, we get a project.
You're going to need a bigger drone.
One problem at a time.
Dave, one thing to solve the absolute problem is you feed in like a known signal, like 1 watt into the antenna, measure the power, measure the field, then you double it to 2 watts. And if your field strength goes up to like, 1.8, you know that there's like some, degradation there.
No, but I think, Hassan, I think it is linear. I did measurements using a field strength meter. Okay, and it's actually linear. If you do that, it's actually linear. The problem is it's, across that small frequencies, power is going to be linear. It's when you jump up to a different frequency, now all of a sudden the antenna is not 100% efficient and you're going to lose energy, right?
Yes. For example, if your near field is above the ground, then you'll lose little energy. But as soon as the near field extends down and hits your basement vault full of gold, it's going to get distorted. And so, yeah, even at different power levels, you'll see different field shapes across. So yeah, absolutely. All that comes into play.
You're just mapping a value. I don't even know if you have to have an absolute value if you're getting a relative field strength across a mapped pattern. Does it really matter what the absolute value is?
That's true. You just want the ISO lines, right? You want the lines of constant strength.
Yeah, you only need the relative values. You don't care.
This is linear. So it shows because it's not necessarily a linear drop off, right? So one of the problems with this is that I would hold this against my antenna and I'd get it peaked, and then I take it back and it drops back, and then it drops off to zero, and it drops off to zero at some fixed distance. Beyond that, I can't measure it. But if I have my little handy dandy antenna, I could measure this right out with my SA going out to like minus 100 dBm, right? And I could still map it out. But with this, it drops off so fast because it's like a linear thing, right?
Those meters are probably designed to I don't know, first of all, they average X, Y, and Z. So they give you a scalar reading, and then they have filtering for they filter out all the transients. So for RF, they probably distort the thing in a lot of ways. Oh, and one more thing. Some of these field strength meters are bogus. What they do is they don't give you a true measurement because then it would not detect anything. So all the people who are worried about EMFs and dirty electricity, they expect the thing to go wild near a toaster. So they actually distort the readings so that it's worse than what you think. so that the hypochondriacs can get a chance to overreact. Like they basically search for what should be dirty electricity and boost the sensitivity in those zones.
So we build our own meter, then you know what you've got.
Yes.
Yes. And I just thought of something.
Are you not actually measuring microvolts?
See, I actually got this, and this is bogus. It doesn't work very well because they say it measures RF, but and it's got the sensors at the back here for measuring EMF and RF. And I tried using this, and the measurements I got with this did not match any other measurements I got. So I think these things they're not very good. I think they're meant more so for Wi-Fi or megahertz and gigahertz. They're not really meant for HF.
What the heck is that thing?
We know the AD8307 chip very well. We've all used this on a couple of projects now. And why not put a low noise amplifier in front of the 8307? The 8307 will go down linearly. Well, that's a hard word. Maybe minus 65 dBm, and then go down to use an LNA in front of that, and who knows I don't know how low you could go, but that'd be where I would start.
Are you just looking for a relative reading, or are you looking for the truth?
No, relative readings are all you need. If you want an absolute value, then I guess you have to go through all the math and the calculations. But what's wrong with relative?
See, I was looking for absolute because I wanted to know what the absolute field strength was of my antenna, so I wouldn't be cooking the squirrels on the fence and my neighbor's kids.
Right. We're talking about what does your antenna radiation pattern look like?
Yeah.
And
if you want to know the absolute value, that's a very difficult thing.
I think the greatest source of error is not going to be in your metering or your measuring. It's going to be the orientation of your antenna. If you can't keep your antenna, let's say it's a square like it was shown there earlier, something like that. If you can't keep that orthogonal to the source of the radiation, it's going to change its projected area. And if it's like a dangling wire or a dipole that's moving around, that source of error is going to be much greater than your measurement error.
Then you're going to have to rotate the antenna through it.
Yeah, and that's what
the antenna through a series of arcs in order to negate that.
And that's what I was referring to as an antenna factor.
So
right? Because depending how it's oriented, the RF is going to see that antenna like a barn door, or it's going to see it as a bird nest hole, right?
Ideally, you want a totally isotropic antenna in 3 dimensions.
Well, would a vertically oriented antenna satisfy that requirement?
But if your drone goes up over your site, then the vertical changes completely.
And for that, you could swap the antenna for a horizontal.
Well, then you've got a different antenna, and
but at the same
time, you know what? If you dangled a rigid vertical antenna below the drone and started going up around, of course, you're right. When you get up on top of it, it's going to change things, I suppose. But you'd still get a good indication of what your radiation pattern is.
I think you use an extremely small antenna with a lot of gain, so that effectively you've got an omni antenna.
Yeah.
So some kind of globe.
Some sort of globe, yes, like an open mesh globe or something like that.
That's what they used for the RF meter when they came down from Liti to check on the HF rigs at work. They used it's a handheld meter, and the business end of it was about a 3-inch mesh globe.
Yeah, I think that's the answer. Then it's got no directionality at all. It's omnidirectional.
But you'd have to amplify the hell out of it.
Well, yes, but you can do that.
What about measuring the magnetic field instead of the electric field? Because there are magnetic field probes you can get that are custom off the shelf. You just go buy it, right?
They're low frequency though. They're nothing at HF frequencies. Like Hall effect sensors aren't fast enough.
No, but when you measure magnetic field off of a board, because I've seen them. They have the little round thing, and you put it over your board, and you're running RF. That's not picking up RF. That's only picking up low frequency.
I think so. I think they're always at like a few hundred kilohertz at most. I don't think I've ever seen anything. I looked for this. I don't think that. I mean, if you want to measure the magnetic field of an antenna, you use another antenna, an H field antenna. That's where. But then we're back to square one. Same problem. I'm curious how this mesh globe works. Like, how does that actually?
Yeah, I'm interested in that one too. I not thought of that.
Well, it wouldn't favor any particular direction if you just had it dangling from a piece of coax that was feeding it in the middle, sort of thing.
Well, you just have the hot end feeding the globe.
Yeah.
So there's one terminal is the globe, and what's the other one? Ground?
Yes.
How do you ground it?
You could actually put a fake ground plane in if you wanted.
The ground doesn't work for a drone, does it?
Well, depends on what you make it out of. You can make the ground. You can make the arms the ground.
Yeah, airplane. Same thing with an airplane.
As long as the antenna is much shorter than the wavelength that you're measuring, it's going to basically act as an omnidirectional antenna.
Yeah.
Could you do 3 antennas at like XYZ, like 3 dipoles in 3 different directions, and then just sum them?
Well, you could actually scan between them.
Yeah, you could scan between them and get the direction of the field, which would help. That'd be good to plot too.
You get the strength. You get the relative strength, and knowing the direction, you derive a point for each of the 3 axes.
Right.
You derive a value for each of the 3 axes. Then there's some math involved to figure out what you're looking at.
Right, but
it's got to be done manually first, just to try it.
Yeah, but a small dipole can't receive. Would that be good at detecting the HF field?
Sure, just not a lot of it.
You'd have to resonate it with a large capacitor, I guess.
That's why God made low noise amplifiers.
Oh, okay. So there's a way to do what Eric wanted with the goggles. What you do is you put an LED on the drone, an RGB LED, and you fly it around, and then you change the color based on the field strength. And then you take a long exposure photograph and do this at night. And then the whole thing, you'll have lights, you'll have the whole pattern, and it can be done purely in an analog way. You don't even need any digital electronics.
If you put an amplifier on the HF rig, you can do it with a fluorescent tube.
Or just fly a fluorescent tube around.
Or actually an NE2 bulb.
Uh-huh.
The old neon bulbs were quite effective at picking up fields like that. Really? Yeah, you put a collector on, you just put a lot of wire on the NE2 and it'll glow as it gets closer.
Well, there you go. That's the first prototype. Neon bulb.
The old amateurs I knew was an inspector for the British radio licensing bureau. I guess it was a telephone company back then. Anyways, people used to tune their radios by putting a light bulb in series on the antenna, and so that's how they used to detect these guys. They drive around, they see the light bulbs glowing in the guns.
We used to put back in the days of CBs. We used to take a little neon bulb and put it at the top of the antenna.
Yep.
And when you key up, it would light up.
That's the NE2, absolutely. I got about 100 of these things. I finally broke down and ordered them because I always liked. You can put an NE2 into a phone, and it'll give a visual indication when it rings.
Are these like the neon?
Yeah, just a little neon orange bulbs that used
lamps.
Yeah. When your phone rang, you used to get the little glitter.
Right. Okay.
Well, if you put enough wire on that, you can induce a voltage on the NE2 that when you key up a rig, it'll light up.
Wow, I thought they'd need 100 volts to light up, though. Is that correct?
I don't know if it's 100. I think mine's a little less than that. Maybe 50. Because you have to put a resistor on it if you're going to run it on a phone line.
Yeah, but we could put a loop of wire, and then that's the H field, I guess, thing that Dave was talking about.
Well, you're
And then-
reducing the voltage, right?
Yes, and if we put a capacitor to resonate it, we'll get another boost. So we have to operate it at a fixed frequency. Like it'll be in resonance at that point. So then it'll be very sensitive, far away.
Be awfully large too. Gonna need a bigger drone.
Well, a cap doesn't have to be a high voltage cap. It can be a low voltage, but it just has to be the right value. And well, we can put a magnetic material like a ferrite or something as well to concentrate the field and drop the inductance. So reduce the make it easier for a low frequency. But then, yeah, you could fly this thing far away and just measure the scalar field. We can figure out the gradient from it. And if you have a directional loop, then you can just orient the drone and then orient it for maximum brightness and then figure it out that way too.
If we do this up by Eric's place, we can start UFO reports with his friend Fred.
Right. So what I don't understand is, why do these things light up if the voltage requirement is so high? You know, like why? Is that just because of the length of wire that you've attached to it?
Yes. You can induce a pretty good voltage if you're close enough to the business end of an antenna.
Neon just needs the gas, Eric. It's a discharge, right? All it needs is a stream of electrons going through it, and you kind of tickle it, and it excites it, and it I can't remember the term. You get
well, you bias the bulb. Yeah, you bias the bulb, and then you let the trigger voltage be what caused by the RF.
Are we talking like tens of feet of wire, or?
Oh yeah, but you can use Litz wire. You know, you can use the wire with the cotton. The Litz
No,
wire
but
they used to use for antennas.
How long? I'm just saying, like tens of feet of wire, or?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Huh.
You want lots of voltage.
Right. So the longer the wire, the more the voltage, basically. Yeah.
Always.
Yeah. Okay.
You can amplify it as well.
Bigger is better, apparently.
Well, the NE2 bulb's just a bit of a lark, but you certainly could induce enough of a voltage using the LNAs and the like for a detection system. What Peter was describing makes perfect sense. It sounds like a good idea.
So you can
map
tell
out
exactly
relative strength.
Yeah.
Map out relative strength and put it on the market.
So if you just trail a wire from the bulb, it'll be sensitive to the electric field. The electric field across the ends of the wire induces a certain voltage, right? And so the longer the wire, the higher the voltage. So that's the E field portion. But if you just take a coil and put it up with a capacitor, then the magnetic field will resonate with that, and then you'll build up a voltage as well. And so that's another way to detect.
I guess it depends on which component is stronger.
Well, we put both on there, and then we can actually measure both with two different LEDs, two different color bulbs.
Yes. Yep.
That would be sick.
It'd be pretty interesting.
Yeah, and then you take a photograph with an old box camera and Polaroid film and or whatever, like a Kodak film, and have a really retro.
Well, if you want a Polaroid, I got a Type 107 downstairs.
What's that?
You can do it in black. You can do a black and white 3.5 by 4.5.
Yeah, but color. You need color for the two different things. Like
this thing is so retro. It's what you used to take pictures of oscilloscope screens.
I've done that. I remember those cameras.
Yeah. Oh yeah, this was used for X-ray equipment.
Okay. When my professor told me to go to the lab and get a camera and take a photograph of the oscilloscope, I literally thought he was mad. I thought he was crazy. And then I went to the guy and he's like, "Oh yeah, we have a special camera that just for the scope." And I was like, "Okay."
The secret is don't use the flash.
Right. Yes. I gotta learn that. The flash just ruins the contrast because of the screen.
No, you get a perfect picture of the oscilloscope.
Yes, something like that. Yeah, it reflects it off there. Okay, so that would be really cool to try out. Honestly, I mean, I would love to see.
The NE2 thing probably isn't going to work, but your idea of using RGB LEDs and monitoring field strength and having different colors based on E or H is very intriguing.
Yeah, even if we just get
That's a lot more low power.
So that's the complicated way to do it. But if there's a simpler way, it'd be good as a proof of concept. Like even if we just get a 16-foot fiberglass pole, attach this to the end, and just wave it around the antenna, like that would be a good proof of concept to just see what's going on.
Well, any gas discharge tube that you can bias, just bias it below the trigger voltage, then put it near the antenna. You'll find out what the field direction and strength is.
You can just orient it.
I think maybe a first step would be see what time is like. Especially if it rains more often, I might have more time to do something like that. But take an LNA, which I have. Thank you to Rick ORY.
Yeah.
And put that in front of an 8307, and then I'm sure I can find somebody to start keying up my rig in the shack, and I can go wandering around the backyard, and as Drew or Hassan said, wave it at it and see what happens. See if I get a reading. I think you'll get something out of it.
Would you need an LNA with an 8307?
Pardon me?
Would you need an LNA with an 8307?
Well, the 8307 is only going to detect down to about minus 65 dBm, right?
Right. So what's coming off of your antenna?
You're pretty close.
No. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's because
you might fry the front.
100 miles away, we're hearing it at minus 80 dBm.
Yeah, but if I go over to Drew's, Drew can't hear me. Okay, so I go over to Rick's house, who's just out the street from Drew.
I promise I'll put up a proper antenna for you, Peter.
Yeah, but
I don't think you need an LNA.
Okay, maybe for a proof of concept, maybe you don't need something.
No, try it. I don't think you're going to need anything, because that signal coming off, it's a 1/r² thing. So the closer you are to the antenna, the stronger it is. If you're 100 miles away, you're hearing it at what minus 80 dBm, and the 8307 is good to what, minus 60, minus 70 dBm. If you're right next to the antenna, or 20 feet away, it's going to pick it up.
So do these 8307s require much of an antenna?
No.
They're very sensitive?
Well, they can measure if you feed in a signal down around minus, I think the absolute rock bottom floor is minus 74 dBm. With the devices we built, I think we got as far as like minus 60-ish.
Wow.
dBm, and we couldn't get below minus 50 dBm just because of noise from the board, just background noise. But if you've got a good board, you've got low noise environment, there are people who have taken those measurements down to like almost minus 70 something dBm.
And you can put
so your antenna could be nothing more than a few turns, a few turns as a coil.
Yeah, it's going to pick it up, man.
You put that on a stick, Peter, they won't be talking about your ladder for squirrels anymore.
So, Drew, could you use like a compact fluorescent for the gas discharge tube?
I think so. Yeah.
That'd be easy to put on the end of a painter's pole or something.
The thing is, a compact fluorescent's got an electronic ballast in it. I don't know what it takes to actually get those things to go off.
Yeah, I think it takes hundreds of volts.
It used to be a Tesla coil that would set off a compact fluorescent.
Yeah, so
I just found my spare 8307 board set up, one of my original ones. So I just take it off the breadboard, and I'll take it out to the backyard, and I'll do some measurements. No guarantee I'll report back for the next mixer, but you never know. That's a month. I should be able to get something done.
Well, Peter, all you have to do is just tie it on a clothesline out there and just go in and start transmitting and see if it records anything.
Yeah, but then I need my data logger, and I haven't finished that project yet.
Oh, okay.
And then, of course, that means now this latest discussion means I have to bump my measuring the speed of light with the laser array down a notch too.
Well, that's a winter project anyways.
It's called, Peter, there's a low-tech way of doing this, a camera and a clock. And you have the camera filming the output of your 8307 or whatever the chip is. You've got a clock. You go inside, and as soon as the second hand hits the 12, you transmit, and you'll see your measurement, right? Low tech. And then come out, turn off your phone, turn off the camera in your phone, and check your value.
Since when is this group in low tech?
Well, I was thinking about flying your 8307 on a little balloon.
Well,
That's
we
hilarious.
did have a discussion way back. We were looking for pilot volunteers, and in the Carrick's group, there's lots of pilots.
There are lots of pilots.
Hey,
I've got a few drones.
You probably do need the 8037 because if you're doing this, it'll take 5 minutes to scan the whole space around the antenna. So you don't want to be transmitting at full power for that long. But I guess you probably want to have as much sensitivity as you can get and transmit at like a few milliwatts.
You know, if you're using something like Peter's off-center fed, if you're putting a watt into that, you'll generate sufficient readings in his backyard. You don't even you want to have as low as power as possible. You fry the chip.
I like to try a few rabbits that are in my backyard, but whatever. That's another story.
Well, there's that induced voltage idea again, Peter. You could always just induce a little voltage around the rabbit den.
All right. Well, I don't know how we ended up here from the Reverse Beacon Network, but anyway, I guess that segment has been, fully explored. So, all right. So I'm going to do something that's going to make me very unpopular with VE3 POA. I have to step away for a few moments. So Peter has graciously accepted my request to initiate the round to the table discussion of what's on your workbench. So thank you, Peter, for agreeing to do that. I will be back shortly. I just have to go administer a vaccine, believe it or not. So
okay, so you must be. Oh, I thought you were going to go out and get a bottle of Jameson's, but okay.
After
That's a pretty valid
the shot.
reason.
I don't think they would allow it for before the shot. That's just not professional. So I'll be right back.
All right,
Splash a little on the arm.
Okay, well, that's an easy task to do. So what's on the bench? Well, I got my shipment of some missing components. And actually, I was a little bit worried a couple weeks ago because I noticed that the vendor on eBay has been delisted. And I've been waiting for a few weeks for my components. So I was a little bit worried. So I went and ordered a bunch more. And then the next day, they showed up. So I finished drilling the holes and started to populate the face panel for my data logger powered distribution / PARC SigGen project. So anyway, so we're still working on it, but this is progress. So the only thing holding me up now is figuring out the cold toner transfer method. And hopefully we'll figure that out. Okay, well, I'll go for the top left, and that's Dwayne. Dwayne's got some good stuff going on in his world with projects.
Yeah, lately I've been working on the simple sideband transceiver that Pete did a thing for. There's a group in Virginia, the Vienna Wireless Society. They had about 20 people that started going and building a version of it. They've been having meetings same time as this one every week for a while to kind of go on their progress on that. So that's why I haven't been here for the last month or so. I've been checking in on them. Pete's shown up a couple of times and given some presentations on some of the things on that. But out of the, I think about 18 or 20 people that started, they've got about a dozen transceivers that are up to the point where they're either on the air, they're receiving, or maybe they're just waiting and getting the final amplifier done. I've been working on a version of it with a couple of people in my local club, and been updating my blog on each one of the things as it goes along. I'm trying to do that in a way that just about anybody can go and build it, even if they haven't had any building experience at all. That's about it.
Oh, that sounds good. Good, Dwayne. I've been following that, and yeah, well done. Okay, Drew, anything on your bench? New antennas?
Well, to be honest, I've been utterly lazy and only been operating.
Well,
I
that's
apologize because, well, it is. The operating was field day, of course. But the thing is that I do have some unbuilt kits that are starting to get dusty, and that worries me a bit. So I have parts for my Bayou jumper. I bought two things for it. One thing is an audio filter, which I built, but I have not calibrated. And the other thing is actually the what they call the super upper of the Bayou jumper, which provides you with a side tone, very useful because the Bayou jumper does not come with a side tone. And it has a high mite filter built into it, and fine tuning, which is also extraordinarily useful for this barn door receiver. So all three of these are a great benefit to the radio, but alas, it sits unbuilt in a bag. I've had to do some outdoor work, so although I mentioned to you, but my end fed has stretched, and I've now got to go out and retune my end fed, and I think I may have to string some, I don't know, maybe some Dyneema cable or rope on it, so that I can keep it from stretching again, because the wire itself, it doesn't need to be anything special, but if I can take and put a non-stretchable rope on that, then I've solved my antenna problem without having to buy a lot of copper weld.
That's true. Well, you had me a little bit worried there because I was pumping out 100 watts on Monday and you couldn't hear me. And Frank could hear me no problem down Windsor way. So I'm not too sure what's going on with your neck of the woods there, Drew.
Well, I have this massive hydro thing behind me, and I must admit, I see Rick does very well, and this is what worries me. This is why I know that it's me, is that Rick can hear everybody, but he has almost nothing around his house.
Well, I think you should rent a room off of Rick and move your shack in there.
His power distribution is underground. Mine is right across the backyard.
Yeah.
And I think I got a noisy insulator back there. And so this does really confound matters. I had a noise level that night upwards of 10 plus on 40.
Yeah, no wonder.
It was crazy.
Okay,
I can't really hear anybody.
You start bugging Kingston Hydro there and to change that insulator.
Yeah, it's actually Ontario Hydro, and I would have better luck getting myself a bigger drone.
Okay, thanks, Drew. Kevin, anything on your bench this past couple of weeks or so? Besides your antenna? Oh, of course, you were busy building that antenna right up to the last minute for the, was that the 440 one?
Yeah, no, I did that one on it. And I still want to build like a 5 or 6 element 2 meter beam as well. Although listening to all these antenna ideas, I wondered how well my 430 megahertz one was working because I got 0 contacts on it on field day. So I don't know if it's because I was trying to shoot through that line of trees on the field there, or it didn't work, or whatever, or just nobody was on 430 megahertz. I don't know. So I don't know, but I want to build another 2 meter antenna, and I've been looking at a lot of the microwave stuff. So I don't remember we were talking about, doing. So I've been trying to make a list of things that I want, things that I can build or not, or like just how to get started, right? So
right. That's right. Yeah, the microwave. Yeah, for anybody, if you got a little bit of an interest in microwaves, well, start reading up the subject, make some postings on the group's IO and whatnot, obviously, because when we were doing our field day, one of our little sessions, a lot of interest was expressed in exploring the field of microwaves, since none of us has ever been there. So we figure, well, why not?
The Ottawa Valley guys do 10 gigahertz.
Who does?
Ottawa Valley.
Oh, okay.
There's a few microwave guys up there, and I thought I was wondering, Kevin, whether you had any luck getting a hold of the Rochester people, because on field day they tend to be pretty loud on the VHF UHF side.
No, I was kind of aiming down that way too, and calling on sideband, but I didn't hear anything. There was a line of wet trees. I wasn't up very high, and there was a line of wet, vegetation all around me on the south end. Yeah. So I don't know that helped me at all on 430. But as to the 10 gigahertz stuff, yeah, if anybody listens to the Ham Radio Workbench podcast, I know, Eric, you do, but this past episode was the world above 1 gigahertz with Doug, I forget his name, very interesting guy. This guy does EME from his the sidewalk outside his garage in his house, and
Yeah, he's got like an 8-foot dish or something. He does EME on like 1296 and stuff. But he is just fascinating. All the stuff that you can do. He's talking about doing 1,000-kilometer paths on 10 gigahertz. Like, it's phenomenal. Like,
And that's
he
not
said,
bouncing it off the moon?
no, that's not bouncing off the moon. That's like there 10 gigahertz apparently has some very weird propagation modes, reflection, a lot of refraction, things like this. It was, it's a deep dive podcast. It's like you need a big, if you have a 5-acre lawn to mow, it's perfect because you'll need the whole thing to listen to it. But it was really, really interesting podcast. They go through all the bands and just, or at least the popular ham bands, and talk about the equipment you need and things like that. So well worth a listen.
Which podcast is that one?
Ham Radio Workbench.
Oh, Ham Radio Workbench. Okay.
They take half the show to get through the what's on your workbench kind of stuff, but this guy they talk to, and he's been on QSO Today and some other stuff. Yeah. But he's really interesting and very knowledgeable guy. He's done work for the military and NASA and stuff like this too. Like, he talks about how he was explaining, somebody asked him what a waveguide was, and he says, well, I've got a 60 kilohertz waveguide antenna at my home for WWV, right? Because the ionosphere is one side, the Earth is the other. And to him, and so he was talking about how he does ionospheric studies at 60 kilohertz. Like, it's just mind boggling. So anyway,
wow.
Really, really worth a listen. So anyway, that's what's not on my workbench.
Okay, well, thanks for that, Kevin. Ottawa Valley doing microwaves doesn't make sense to me, especially when you want to get up on doing hilltopping, but we get it. Okay. I see Eric is back. Eric, do you have anything on your bench?
Yeah. How many have we got? Have we gone around most of the table? Yeah.
Well, I'll give you 30 seconds at tops.
30 seconds. Well, I did have something on my bench on Monday afternoon. I was working furiously on hooking up my Big Alley key to the keyer, my 4-state QRP keyer, and it worked, actually. I was amazed. So I actually figured out the correct solder points, and yeah, I mean, it's no big deal. I put a jack onto my crick key, basically, but hey, now I got basically a standalone keyer as well that I can jack into, and I guess I'll mount the jack onto the nice board that was supplied with a crick key, and I'll be ready to go. But unfortunately, by the time I got onto the QSO, the Carrick's QSO, the guys were wrapping up. Like, I can't believe they didn't wait 45 minutes for me to finish supper and join.
Yeah.
So. Anyway.
Well, let's put it this way. Even if you were on time, like one letter.
No, I know CQ, test, and that American call sign.
Yeah. You've got 3 weeks. You should be able to learn at least the first 10 letters. Okay.
So as a penalty, Peter, you're going to have to spend time with me on a one-on-one QSO so that I can actually practice with my new, nice new paddle keyer combination. So.
More than happy to do that. Although, why don't you drag Dave into your quagmire of learning the Morse code? Hey, and you could get Kevin involved as well.
I've given up on Dave because I've asked him, multiple times, and he always says that no, it's Canada Day or some other excuse that he won't join me. So
I think you need to find another best ham buddy. Okay. Thanks.
One with an American call sign.
Yeah. Well, not just spoke up, Ken. You're up next. What? I think I know what's on your bench, but carry on.
Yeah, I finally Kelly Gray was. They got their CNC machine or milling machine fixed, so I got 2 sets of DCR boards from him. I gave one to Dave. I'm going to be stuffing the other one, hopefully start this weekend. Went through the board to match up against the schematic. Found one error, but it's a very minor one. So Kelly's fixed that on his documents, and I'm just going to cut and paste the wire to fix it. So when I get that done, I'm going to take some pictures as I'm building it, and I can share those on the forum.
Well, that'd be good. Maybe don't know if you've ever considered some video, but we've had some discussions about presentations and doing videos instead of live demos. Maybe there might be something in there to practice with Ken. But okay, great. Thank you very much for that. And Phil, you're up next. Anything new over your place?
Well, there is something new. I had the occasion to get rid of some of my stuff and got some stuff back from another ham.
So it broke even.
And it's the main thing is a fairly heavy duty, very heavy duty azimuth elevation camera mount. It's heavy enough that it would easily handle VHF, UHF satellite antennas. It's a German thing. It's from the Burle company, B-U-R-L-E, and it's really, really high quality. It's really German engineering in it, and it's beautiful to look at. It's got a few challenges. Its two motors are 24 volts AC, so you have to drive them with relays. It does not have turns counters, so I got to figure out how to measure the azimuth elevation actual angles, and you can do that through the shaft encoders or turn counters, or the other guy he's got one as well, and he's done it before apparently with just timing the rotation, and it's got the limit switches built in and everything. It's a beautifully engineered thing. So probably run it with an Arduino and maybe even a remote Arduino, and like a Wi-Fi Arduino or something like that. So I'll probably take some pictures as I go along, because this German engineering is beautiful to look at. So that's my challenge.
I'm just going to say, talk to Dave, EAC. I think he's got a bunch of these sensors, and he gave me two of them. And one's a sending unit and one's a receiving unit. And the reason why I bring it up, Phil, is it's easy to configure. You can find the data sheets on this device. But if you put your rotation through there, and then the rotation would flag. Well, you get the idea. Flag it. Maybe this kind of device.
A turns counter.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I'm sure Dave says he's got a box full of them.
Okay, good.
Okay, thanks for that, Phil. Hassan, anything new on your? I guess now you've made your first contact. All you're doing is operating and not building.
Well, yes and no. So, I mean, I inspired by Field Day and Eric's inverted V antenna, I set up my antenna properly in the backyard. Let me see if I can show you a picture. I don't know if you guys can see the tree at the back.
Oh yeah. How come it's dark here and it's daylight where you are?
The camera is pretty good. It's pretty dark. But I hooked this up to the house. I just stuck it in my daughter's bedroom window. And here I got a pole out there. And this thing is amazing. This antenna is like, I was doing the 13 Colonies event, and I got all the colonies there basically. And there was S9 everywhere, North Carolina, nice. Georgia. And I would talk, and I'd hear them loud and clear, and they'd hear me, S9 everywhere. And then, so basically, one thing I did is I used this thing called Web SDR. I go on the web. They have these SDR radios around the world. I picked one in Washington, D.C., and used that. And I could transmit here and hear myself there. And I'd listen to stations there. And then there's a guy in England who was coming in loud and clear in Washington. So I was listening to him through the web SDR interface. And then I try to transmit here and try to talk to him. And then I picked the station in the UK and tried to see if they could pick me up. And it was really fun. It was kind of neat. But I want to show you guys one more thing I did. I found this program called Grid Tracker. Can you see the video here?
Yeah.
So here's WSJTX. So I'm using the digital modes here. And on the left, you run this program, Grid Tracker, and it just plots where everybody is and who's talking to who. And it's really neat. It works beautifully. And so it shows you the clouds. It shows you who's connecting there. And as I make a contact, it shows me where they are and just draws a circle there. Great circle. So it's kind of like reverse beacon, but it works for the digital modes.
Oh, cool.
You guys see that? So and then I figured out how to use my radio. So I set the colors up properly, and I realized I was doing everything wrong on Field Day. I had the gain cranked up to the max, and I was just trying to listen through the noise. Now I turn the gain down, and I get much better signal quality, and it works beautifully now.
So it looks like we've turned a great home brewer into an operator. It might be the other way around. Okay.
Well, antennas are my next big project. I'm gonna hook up antennas around the house.
I think you're going to be heavily involved in drones and figuring out how to measure H fields and E fields and all that kind of crap. Okay.
Gas-filled tubes.
Hey?
Gas-filled tubes for the wind.
Yeah, exactly.
NE2 lights, RGB, LEDs.
Yeah, we're going to keep Hassan busy for about, well, you're going to display all this stuff at Dayton next year on Club Night on 4 days in May, Hassan. So get those.
Sounds like a plan. We'll have to plan a field trip to do this before next year. So, I mean, we can't wait a whole year to try out the drone thing. We should do it in the summer.
Exactly.
Hassan, a question about that grid tracker. Is that just for your tracking your own? Is that for looking at others, or both?
Both. It does everything. You run WSJT, and this just talks to WSJT and like through the socket interface, local UDP port, and it just silently works with it, and just whatever is on the right, it just plots it on the left. Like whatever's in the text window, it just plots it.
Okay.
So,
all right. Well, thanks for that, Hassan. And speaking of drones, Dave, you're up next.
Yeah, no, nothing.
Huh, good. Thank you. Goodbye.
Just been doing stuff in my backyard. Now that we can get contractors and people to come in, so doing that, and it's summer, so all my summer hours I'm spending trying to fly airplanes and helis, and I just had to go buy a replacement airplane because I destroyed one of my airplanes a couple weeks ago. So nothing on the RF. Well, I'm generating RF when I fly my airplanes, but nothing radio-wise. That's for when the fall comes, winter, it's cold. That's when I'll start going back, doing stuff.
Well, okay, I'll give you a mulligan on this, but that's a pretty poor excuse. But anyway, I understand it. All right, thanks, Dave. Hey, Howard, how's it going?
Pretty good. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Yeah, I haven't been doing very much. I finished off my tuner. So the next step is to fashion the enclosure for it. So pretty well, that's all I've been doing.
Yeah, watch out about those enclosures. Sometimes they cost more than the actual kit itself. I'm looking forward to seeing how well that tuner works out, because it's almost hard to believe that you get an AT for the kind of money they're asking for it.
Yeah, I know. I thought of you. I broke down, and the enclosure I bought was fairly expensive, but it matched the QCX enclosure, so I thought I couldn't resist.
Yeah. Well, spend the kid's inheritance. Can't go wrong.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks for that, Howard. And Al, doing anything with RF or in the metal workshop?
Well, life has been kind of busy with work right now, but a couple small things. I guess just leading up to field day, I was playing with some end-fed half-wave antennas, so built myself a 49-to-1 ratio Unan at legal limit, so that worked out fairly well. And then while I was on a roll, I ordered from Pacific Kits, is it? One of these Hendrix little QRP tuners. Quite an easy little thing. It's probably about an hour build, 2 hours at most. But I was quite surprised on field day. I actually made a couple of contacts. I only needed 63 feet of wire, and I just took some automotive wire and strung it along the fence line, so it was only up about 6 feet. And this thing has a little tuner on it and an SWR LED, and I was quite impressed how sharp the dip was. Absolutely no question that you were bang on tuning when the LED extinguished. So it worked out rather well. Great for a little QRP Go kit. So I could recommend that. Not much else. I think I'm going to go into repair mode right now. On field day, I brought out my Kenwood TS50 Go kit and plugged it in, and well, it didn't work very well. Problem with the transmitter. When I key up, I get some distortion, and trying to key up on 5 watts, and it swings to full 100-watt power out. So there's something wrong. Unfortunately, that TS50 has is known for leaky capacitors. I've already done the repairs on it a few years ago, where the display extinguished, and I had to go in there. A little bit like doing open heart or brain surgery, but that was successful. So I'm just considering opening this thing up and looking for leaky capacitors and see what I can find. Otherwise, I'm looking for another Go radio. That's about it, really. Just keeping busy, but nothing huge on the bench.
Okay, well, thanks for the update, Al. That'll be interesting. I remember the TS50. I used one on field day many years ago. It probably wasn't the best. I think, if I recall, that's probably one of the first mobile HF rigs that was put out, that, if I recall correctly. But I found it was a bit tough to use that radio on field day because of the selectivity. But nonetheless, it's a nice little mobile rig.
It is. I enjoy it. It'll be sad if I can't resurrect it, because they don't make them anymore, and it's a relatively easy radio to use. You don't have too many menus, too many buttons. It's fairly straightforward.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I kind of miss my old 2-meter rig, the ICOM 228H. No menus, very simple, only 20 memories, and I never filled those. Okay, thanks for the update, Al. Okay, we lost Frank, so that's it. Eric, I guess back to you. Oh, Hassan, I'm going to say congrats on getting all the 13 colonies. Well done there. I didn't get a whole lot of time to do the 13 colonies this year myself. I did manage to get 3, but I guess 3 is not very much compared to 13. So, Eric, back to you.
Okay, thanks, Peter. Yeah, no, I heard some 13 colonies activity as well, but I was wrapped up on the Canada Day contest on the whatever day that was, Wednesday, Thursday, I guess it was. Anyway, so that was fun. I actually did pretty well, I thought, for myself. How many points did I get for that? I got 2,354 points for the Canada Day contest. So there you go, as opposed to a paltry 18 for field day. So, but there were a lot of multipliers for Canada Day. So,
did you work all states, all territories?
Province territory?
All province?
No, definitely not all. I got 6. So,
okay.
Yeah.
All I need is Nunavut, so I've got to convince somebody to fly up to Nunavut and make a contact with me. Okay.
So anyway, that was a fun way to spend part of Canada Day. I operated probably 2 or 3 hours, something like that, in total, 3 or 4. Let's put it that way. So, anyway, okay. Well, thanks for taking over that that section for me, Peter. I appreciate it. So, I don't think there's too much to say other than that's a wrap. Next meeting is Wednesday, the 21st of July. It's our regular meeting. And so, if you've got anything that you want to present, make sure you let one of us know, Peter, Ken, myself, and we'll make sure you get onto the agenda. So as usual, this meeting, the recording of it, if there's anything you want to review, will be posted in its raw format on the Dropbox link that I'll pass around. And unless anyone has anything else, looks like Peter is...
Yeah, I just want to say Wayne is good to go again. He's going to give another. He switched computers, and I think we got everything all sorted out. So he's going to do his KiCad 101 on July, and then he'll do KiCad 102 the following month, and then we'll be into the new stuff when we get that organized. So. So there's nothing else on the agendas, but except for those 2 particular presentations. So if somebody else has something they would like to present, talk about, just let me know.
No shortage of ideas tonight to get whet your appetite. So
exactly.
lots of things to jump into.
Actually, we had Wayne here earlier tonight, but I see he's not here now.
What about some of the other segments we were experimenting with? Like we were talking about bios and
yeah, we'll work on
fundamentals and stuff like that.
Yeah, we can work on a bio for the meeting coming up in July, and maybe there'll be a cool chips there and whatnot segment. Maybe
Component corner.
And component corner, yeah. So we got a couple there. So those two segments there. Let me know, guys, to confirm that you're good to go for that one. And a bio, we'll figure out something there. Which reminds me, if anybody here would like to do a little 5-minute bio to introduce yourself to us in a little bit more detail than what we already know or don't know, I should say, please let me know, and we will. We'll go from there.
Right. Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much, everybody. Nice seeing you all again, and have a good night. 7-3 all.
7-3 all, and hopefully we recorded the game. Nobody say anything because I think I'll go and go watch the recording.
Hey, Eric.
Yep.
Okay, can you send me that information on that lithium box you've got, that red one?
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah, I'll send you the link. No problem. Make a note about it.
So you're happy with it?
Yeah, it hasn't failed me yet. I really haven't put it to a real test, but yeah, it's what is it? Go Labs or something like that, I think is the brand. Not that these brand names mean much, but anyway, it's yeah, like so far so good. No issues with it. It